So a couple hours later, I got another phone call, and it turned out it was from the head of the Department of Print on Demand for Amazon.com. And it turns out the tech support guy had told his boss my story, and she had told her boss my story, and it had gone all the way up to the head of the department, who then called me and said, you know, if you're getting 12,000 downloads a month, why don't you let us go ahead and sell your book on our website internationally? We'll give you a bunch of copies and some publicity and stuff. You know, it would be kind of nice. I said, yeah, that would be kind of nice. You're right. I'll do that. So the moral of that story is that it's always worth trying something new. One of the things about trying the impossible is that you fail a lot. And as we've heard today and from some of the other speakers, that's part and parcel of the process. And it can be a really good thing, particularly when it brings you to new things, like in this case, a Creative Commons license. The last story I want to tell, and Peter, this is for you, is perhaps my favorite because it's very bizarre. This project started about 10 years ago when I was at a cocktail party. And it was one of those cocktail parties where you end up in the back porch, probably later than you should be out, trying to solve all the problems in the world and feeling like you're doing a good job. And me and a buddy of mine were sitting there doing exactly that. And he turned to me and he said, you know, Josh, you're a smart guy. I got a problem. There's all these crows in my backyard. And they make all this noise in the morning, and they dig in my trash, and they tear up the lawn. And you know, I keep thinking maybe I could shoot the ones that are there, but other ones are going to come in. Can you just help me exterminate the entire crow population of the world? Just kill them all? I thought that was an extraordinarily stupid idea, and I told him as much. And then because I was feeling so expansive, I said, you know, if you want to do something clever, you ought to train all those crows to do something useful, which is kind of a stupid idea, really. And he turned to me and he said, that's impossible. And nothing irritates me more than being told that something's impossible. So I spent the next 10 years studying crows in my spare time. And in the process of doing this, I learned some really interesting things. Now, keep in mind, this is just a hobby, a thing I was doing on the side. But, you know, as with all hobbies that are good, the more you learn, the more you understand you don't know, and the more thirst for knowledge you have. One of the big things that I learned first was that crows are enormously populous. They're found everywhere on the planet except for the tip of South America and in Antarctica. And in all that region, they're only rarely found breeding more than 5 kilometers away from human beings, and mostly in cities. Now, more than half the human population lives in cities now, and almost 9/10 of the population growth for human beings is in cities, so it's no surprise that, diseases aside, the crow population will be booming. So that was the first thing. But that wasn't the really interesting part, because the same thing's happening with cockroaches. The interesting part was their intelligence. And here's a short film about that. So this is Betty. She's a New Caledonian crow, and these crows use sticks in the wild to get pieces of food out of cracks in wood. And in this test, they had meant to leave some different length sticks of wood in there, but they screwed up, and they put in a length of wire. Now, Betty's never seen wire before. And you can see she's not having very much luck, so she adapts. Yeah. So that's where the researchers completely freak out. And rightly so, because it turns out that crows have enormous logical and deductive reasoning. In fact, they're on par and even smarter in many cases in this way than many of the great apes. The body-brain proportion is the same as the great apes, and there's just tons of anecdotes of how smart these birds are. So I learned that they were enormously populous, which is okay, but then I learned that they're wicked smart, which is, okay, now we're getting interesting, right? Then I learned something else about them which was particularly unique, and something which has, in my mind, put the human population on the map, so to speak. And here's a short film about that.
Crows have become highly skilled at making a living in these new urban environments. In this Japanese city, they have devised a way of eating a food that normally they can't manage. Drop it among the traffic. The problem now is collecting the bits without getting run over. Wait for the lights to stop the traffic. Then collect your cracked nut in safety.
So what's interesting about that isn't that crows are cracking nuts with cars. That, in fact, is pretty old hat for crows. What's interesting is that this occurred in a place called Sendai City in Japan at a driving school about 20 years ago. And since that time, the crows in the neighboring area in an expanding territory have picked up this behavior. So now all the crows in 5 kilometers around this driving school are doing exactly this. They're going, parking their nut under the car, waiting by the sidewalk, light goes out, same thing. They're all learning from each other. Now, research bears this out, that they seem to learn both from their parents, but also from their peers, from observation of their friends as well as from their enemies, which indicates an ability to be adaptive, unlike any other species that we really know of. I mean, it's a fairly unique adaptation. And if you think about it, living in a city, it's a pretty darn good one to have. So I put this all together. I spent, as I said, 10 years doing this, so I was thinking, okay, we got lots of them, they're really smart, and they can learn from their peers. Maybe we should make a vending machine, right? Like that's the obvious answer, right? So I spent several years talking about making a vending machine until at one point my wife said, look, you've been talking about this for 10 years, Josh, would you make the vending machine, please? So that's what we did. We made the vending machine. And the way it works is it uses Skinnerian training, which is very straightforward kind of operant conditioning, that is to shape the behavior of the animal until it looks like what you want it to do. So the first stage, we set the machine up and we put food and coins around the machine and food and coins on the food slot there. And then when the bird comes and picks up the peanut and flies away, the machine spits up more food and coins. And we do this because crows are quite nervous about new things, rightly so. Then on the next stage, we change it so that when the bird lands, it spits up food and coins. So at this point, it's like, okay, well, this thing is spitting up peanuts all the time. That's pretty cool. We'll go with that. It's okay. It makes some noise. And then when they get used to that, we go to the next stage when we mess with them. And at this point, we only give them coins. And like most of us, when we've gotten used to a good thing and suddenly somebody messes with us, they really get annoyed at this. And they bang on the machine and they try and tear the thing off and they put dirt and crap inside. It's really nice. But eventually they start looking for peanuts under the pile of coins that's there, which is a natural behavior that they do in the wild. So in the wild, they'll dig for stuff under leaves by sweeping their beak back and forth, and that's what they do here. And when they do that, the coins fall down the hole, and then the machine gives them a peanut. So this is not as optimal as just showing up and having peanuts be at the ready, but it's pretty darn good because it's better than starving. So we let them go at that for a while, and then we go to the last stage, where they show up and nothing happens. And this is where we see the real difference between crows and other species, because a squirrel will come by and go, oh yeah, nuts, no nuts, and it'll go away. Then it'll come back, oh, nuts, no nuts, And then after 5 or 6 times, it goes and plays in traffic or whatever it is that squirrels do. But the crow comes by and it says, whoa, dude, where's my nuts? What's wrong with this machine? It starts banging on the machine again because it knows this machine has been messing with it. It's done at least 3 different weird things, so there's chances are good that it ought to do something more. So eventually it looks around the base of the machine and it finds that there are coins laying there from the beginning of the stage. And some crow makes the bright idea that, well, dude, there's plenty of coins right here. I'll just, get one of those. So he jumps down, grabs a coin, drops it in the slot, gets a peanut, and then that crow enjoys a temporary monopoly on peanuts until its friends learned about it. So we've proven this idea with captive crows in Brooklyn, and we're looking to open source the idea, make it open for anyone to go ahead and improve on the design and share these ideas. But the important bit here isn't necessarily that we have been able to monetize crows. The idea is that by trying to do the impossible, we stumbled across a very happy accident. I had no idea if this would work, and all the crow researchers that I spoke to about it, they also didn't know if it would work, but they weren't trying because it seemed kind of ludicrous. And so that's what I'd love to leave with you guys today, is that it's always worth trying the impossible. Thanks.